What's up, guys? Wanted to run some Tour 12 content here. So for those interested, just to kind of go over, this is going to be covering Porthello, Waterfield Sands, Centenary Harbor, and Greenwich Point, which has been kind of standard in here for a couple months now. I'm hoping it doesn't get changed too fast. Pretty standard Tour 12 bag here. One thing I did add in is I finally got off-roader level 8 here. So brand new club there. Pretty much shatters Nirvana at this point. It's very, very strong rough iron. So pretty cool to see. It's almost like, you know, they should have flip-flopped Amazon and off-roader in terms of statistically, because you know, this one's almost unusual and it's Tour 6, but, you know, has everything maxed out at 100 except for the fact that you can't see any of the guide. Which makes it a little bit hard to use. But anyway, let's get rolling here. I'm just going to kind of do some playing and walkthroughs. Hopefully we can get a good variety. I usually get a mix when I play this. You know, sometimes I'm hot, sometimes it just doesn't go my way. Like this is, first off, it's a very tough tour. So if you're struggling with this tour, it makes perfect sense. You have to be very careful on some of these shots. Most of the time, the way that I play this one, I go around this way. I try to make sure that I don't get too aggressive. It should be enough topspin for me to make me happy. Pretty much max I'm going to use here, which is going to be close to 10 rings for me. Just a bit short. No curl in this case, otherwise, you know, let's say the wind was pointed the other way, you know, we curl it. So you have to be able to be flexible to be able to play multiple different ways. I don't necessarily like going super long on this one. Because sometimes it puts you a little in between clubs. So staying a little bit back is okay. Like I mentioned though, you know, it's really important to just stay flexible. And looking at that wind there, it was like 10-8. This is about what I went, 9-6. It's pretty much spot up. Sometimes I just kind of, you know, just mentally do it in my head. Or at least get the idea. You know, half a ring isn't going to cost you. Now maybe with great balls it will. But the standard, half a ring's not going to cost you. So even if you're a little bit off on the math, no big deal. We're off to a good start here. Katana ball. I see, you know, from time to time, ooh, did clip the tree. Not a big deal. A lot of times, even when you clip that, so don't fret on getting a little too close to that tree. 9 times out of 10, you're still going to get right up to the pin where you need to be. So no big deal on that. Now what we're going to do here, I'm going to utilize a little bit of topspin. Usually I won't. Pretty close to my max adjustment, max curl. My standard would be basically no topspin, but since this is straight into the face, we're just going to give it a little bit of extra, make sure that it gets there. You can see this is about pin high, nothing too aggressive. You know, maybe great ball shoots down towards the hole, but you know, you don't want to do anything too crazy, cost yourself. And let's just see what this looks like. The only issue that I see with my opponent here is maybe the katana, you know, not getting your wind resistance down, making this just a touch harder than it has to be. So Kingmaker would have still been okay, but realistically, you should be able to go full OP, that's the way I would have did it. I would have did it the left there instead of this right way. But this right way will work as well. It just gives you a little bit more room. You can see it has some more precision count. This might wind up getting the ball a little bit short. I'm not sure. I'm not entirely sure this is going to roll down the green enough. You can easily thread those trees, so you don't have to be that wary about that. It looks like it did just get there, so all is good there. You just don't want to leave it near that fringe. You get a really downhill. If you get a side wind, who knows, maybe you miss it. So you do want to be just a little bit cautious. Going through the other way, guaranteed, no matter what, you could have still got it to the hole. You know, a chance to still make it. And you just never know. So we are going to the shootouts. I kind of like it this way anyway. I'm more about the content being driven when we're doing these, so not too worried about stealing games from people. I'd rather us get a good mix. If we can get, this hole only once, because what is there? There's got to be at least, 6 holes, 4 courses, 20. There's 24 holes in play. I'd like to see, a mixed bag. See if we can't get half of them, which would be nice. So this is one of my least favorites. So typically what I'll do here, we're going to have to go max for sure. Switch back to the driver. Typically land a little bit aggressive here. Got to take off some of the backspin that you might use otherwise, because you don't want that second bounce costing you. Flipping and pushing might be a good strategy as well. So let's see how this comes. Oh, just lands a little bit long. So just landing long. Got to be a little bit careful with my pull angle there. And you can see we had a good line, so if it would have landed on there, we were good. It's not a guaranteed loss when you do that, but it's going to be close, especially with a small wind. Basically, all my opponent has to do is just get just a little bit less aggressive. The bounce will easily get over. So let's just see what this one looks like. It's going to be a very similar shot. You can just see his pull angle is a little bit different, a little bit more shallow. So it's definitely not going to pull long on him. Only thing, you have to be a little wary of is maybe great ball left. But that looks pretty good. And you should have a pretty good outcome when you go this way. So here you can see it's going pretty much towards the hole. Pretty good rollout, just not enough curl. I think, my shot probably would have been very competitive, probably even, had more curl than that. So there's a good chance that I would have picked that up. We just had to make sure that that first bounce landed on the fairway there, which, as you can see, it didn't. So not off to the greatest start, but just keep in mind, everything I did there adjustment-wise, pretty okay. It was more just maybe just a little too cautious or a little bit not cautious enough with my pull angle and keeping it a little bit of because here's the thing, I'm always worried about that second hop. So I got just a little aggressive there. So you just got to kind of stay off being too aggressive, and that's a good video just to show you, how big your tolerance range is. And I don't get that hole a lot. I haven't played that one in, I'd say 2 months. Even when I did get it, it was like driver straight in the face. So I couldn't even do that hop shot. I had to do more of a, I had to play it a different way because it was a completely different wind. So, keep that in mind. Let's see what we have here. See if we can't get back on track here. Nice tailwind. I was not watching my opponent's shots. Maybe it would have been nice to do so, because I gotta guesstimate curl here. I'm gonna go most of it. I feel like I don't need power here at all. Let's just see how this works out. And it does roll through. That's okay. I wanted to kind of test out this off-roader anyway. So this is actually going to be my first official shot using it. And, you know, like I've told guys, I don't necessarily mind being in the rough. You know, compared to a B-52, especially if you get perfect ball, you know, I kind of think of it as like a 50-50 split. I'm just as likely to make the rough iron shot as I am B-52. So there's a nice advantage for getting the ball up there farther. So as you can see, I get a little bit careless, but, you know, I don't even necessarily consider it careless. Like I knew it was aggressive, and that's why I was talking about not going OP. But, you know, worst case scenario, as you can see, it rolls through. Ooh, we missed the bump there. That's an interesting one. That's weird because that shouldn't have played. This doesn't really play downhill, I didn't think. I always thought this is pretty flat, so I'm surprised he missed the bump there. Maybe it was pulling up to higher ground. Maybe that's what it is. Oh, you know what I don't have? Oh, it should be very similar, though. I don't have the max span for this worked out yet. As you can see, it's just a little bit different. It's not going to change things dramatically. I can just, you know, for the most part, I'd say keep it a couple % less. So if this is 60 on Nirvana, maybe it's 58 on off-roader. Shouldn't have put that in yet. 5.5, maybe just a tad of curl. And just watch the long pull here. Be just a tiny bit careful. So perfect ball. Just a little bit too much curl. I should have, you know, maybe it didn't even need it there. Maybe it was perfect. It's very close to no curl. Ever since they put that curl update, I do get just a little aggressive sometimes on how much I'm curling. You know, maybe just a tick mark or two there is perfect. But my opponent should, with the small wind, be able to pop this in, no issue. Oh, so it's the great ball. You know, and this is just one of those things where, you know, especially against the Wind 5, I should really just take this one and run because we just don't know how this is going to pan out. So we don't know, you know, next game, I could get another Wind 5 opponent. So it's like just to kind of, you know, contribute the clan points, get my coins. I'm just going to take it, but it's unfortunate that my opponent there can't get, because I think it's more useful for the content driven that you guys can see some more stuff as opposed to me just stealing one. But it's good for me to, you know, start contributing some clan points and whatnot. So we'll take what we can, especially in 12. Very tough tour. I consider this one pretty significantly more challenging than 11. But with that being said, if you take the time to master this one, you can be the shark that makes it harder for guys to master this one. So if you play this religiously, you are going to make billions and billions of coins. So let's see what my opponent does here. I'm kind of torn. It's either way my opponent's trying to play it. Is this going to carry? He seems to think it is. I can, oh, no, he's just not playing his rings. That's a very unusual way to play that shot. Especially to intentionally put it in the rough like that. That is very unusual. What I was kind of thinking, I'm surprised that he wasn't, since it's a tailwind, was to try to get that second hop over these bunkers. As long as it's over those bunkers, we're good. We're home free. I imagine Nirvana will be fine. And that's kind of the way that I was thinking about playing this one. Ideally, maybe a Zerk. I just don't want to lose this one outright if I'm wrong. So I'm going to use pretty close to a max plus 10, maybe just a little bit more for my adjustment. Of course, we'll just try to stay as straight up as we can. As long as this second hop clears, that's a look like it's not going to. Oh, just cleared. Just barely. I think we're good from there because we have better... So we basically drove it as far as my opponent, but we have a better angle. But he got the free pass to the hole anyway. There's only one win that would have been difficult there, which would have been, straight in the face. Since I'm up as far as I am, and of course, staying out of that sand, gonna have a good look at it. Plus, we get to practice this off-roader, so why not? Another way to guarantee that would have been a power 4 ball. Power 4 ball, we would have easily been a little bit farther in the rough. And obviously, if we went luminary there, I think we're in the next fairway, no issue. I just didn't want to burn it. Some of you guys might have tons of them. With a win like that, that's probably the shot I would recommend. Just go for that next fairway. I don't need it though. I can play this good without. Let's call this one right around 70%. Does that sound about good? With a little bit of difference. Ooh. I've not seen that yet. Very interesting, glitchy. Just a little bit. I feel like it's downhill, so maybe just a little extra. Not bad overall. Going to be very tough to keep that one on line from that angle. You can see that pin is in a very nasty spot. You just want to stay kind of true to your count. And let's just go for the shootout. That's the main thing that I kind of wanted to focus on anyway. Especially when we're in 12, I don't really think you're going to have a lot. I wouldn't say never, but you're not going to have a lot of chances, as many as in 11, to win these outright. You'll still get a couple chances, especially when we're talking like Greenwich Point, for example. Probably one of the easier from this set. But, I find 11 as one of those tours as you almost always get an opportunity. This tour's a little bit different. Most of the time we're playing to, one, not make a mistake. So that's always a big one, So tailwind here, we're definitely going to be going cat. And for this wind angle, we're definitely going to go extra. Something like 15, 20 might be a little bit too much. We're going to go right at the max line here. A little bit. Maybe one full bar here. And 12-8 on my rings. So I'm a little worried now about this peeling to the right, and sure enough, that's exactly what it does. So we have good depth, but that's not what we're looking for. You have to be very exacting on these shots. You can see we would have had a nice rollout, but you really need that perfect ball, and I kind of feel a little ripped off there. because I really didn't feel like I let go early. I just didn't get a solid, it just didn't jump to that tick mark. But I feel like it sometimes does. And I know I wanted to kind of avoid, for sure, great left the other way. Let's just see how this works out. Similar thing can happen with my opponent. And of course, he can always overshoot the back as well. We did have pretty good weight. He's doing a curl method. This can go the other way if you're not careful. That might balance itself out. That might stay just a little bit inside of mine because of that curl. So it kind of like neutralized how much it rolled down there. So a little bit of a bad break there. Opponent being able to see me go first, I feel, maybe played it just a little bit different than he would have if he would have gone first. And same thing, like I would have played strategically against him as well if I saw that he put it exactly where I did. It's like, well, let's just try to not get over that far. And, the great ball calls both of ours to go over that far. No question about it. And I get on the losing end of that, unfortunately. The method's good, though. You really, if you go enough rings there, you do not need to use your curl. That's the reason that I don't. I try to use the approach, let's just side spin more and curl none. What it lets us do is get in the shot center, in the dead center every time. It makes for a more exacting shot. So one takeaway that I can share with you guys, that's the best piece of advice that I have for you guys, is to basically eliminate that curl. If it's a shot that you won't need curl, that is one of those shots. Just utilize a little bit more side spin. It's a better approach. Leads to more consistent results for sure. That's an interesting one. I think we're going to be able to get there easily. My opponent's that far. Of course I could always switch to that driver, but I do like having Apocalypse on just in the event that we need it. Interesting to see, though, another opponent pull out a relatively normal ball here. So, like I mentioned, we're going to be in a relatively similar spot as our opponent. No issues. Let's just see what we can do here. See if we can't start trying to rattle off some wins. This is a pretty nice wind angle for a potential drop. So when you do get these limited opportunities, make sure you are trying to take your time. We're going to do something similar, but we're going to be a little bit longer than my opponent. This should be a relatively flat shot. Any extra rings that you go here is pretty much going to be just dependent on wind direction. Let's maybe go about 10% extra. But like I mentioned, it's mostly for direction more than anything. We're going to be pretty close to max in this case. All of these have pretty nice land zones as well. So I'm not too worried about that. You don't have to worry about catching the fringe here. It's more about making sure that we stay outside max span right around 16.2. 15.2, I mean. Just lands a bit shorter than even I was anticipated. So needed just a little bit more pull. Maybe another 10%. 16.5. You can see it landed well short, and we definitely went the 15 too. So it's really just a directional thing with that wind. And that's sometimes where the, we've talked about this before, my shot arrow. I'm a little bit lazy with using this, but if I was to use it on a flat lie, you'll see here it says 18, 18.1. This would have put me real close in the ballpark. Because you could see I was a good ring and a half minimum. It just gives you a nice estimation. So we're going to go tailwind here. I think they're going to make me go first on all of these. So a little bit of top spin here. I didn't put my 10% on. A little bit of an over adjust similar to last hole. Coming in pretty nice, just a little bit too much curl, but we have very good weight there, so anything on the fringe by the opponent, we should be able to scoop up. And the easiest way to wind up on the fringe here is just to be a little bit too cautious or maybe great ball left. You'll wind up on the fringe, I swear, every time. Ooh. And you can see the other thing, he only has 2 bars, so that makes him have to curl just a little bit more. You see his spin's a little bit different. He's not utilizing the top. I'm not saying that's necessarily a deal breaker. A little bit of overpower will help correct that. It also looks like that looks a slight on the underpower side, though. I'm thinking this is going to come up short. Unless he gets a very nice rollout. It should come out up short. You can see he just didn't do quite enough with the adjustment. So just a hair bit short there. But the line looked good. So you can see with the 2 bar, he was able to compensate and still get that going right on line. So it was a very good shot. Just not quite the right spin. So you do want to utilize just a little bit of spin there. It's very similar. We played that very similar to a tournament not too long ago, if you guys remember. So you should have that in your memory bank. Not saying necessarily you took that shot, because there was also, some rough bump methods that could be used, but that's the way that I was playing it, with some of my driver shots for sure. It's a very similar type approach to what you're doing there. So let's see what we can do on this one. Let's keep powering through here. Pretty nice shot there. Just a little clip of the rough. I'm not sure what the stats of that ball are. Typically on this wind, I'll just go the safe route. This guy's kind of enticing me to do that. If it was a little bit more tail, I'd feel more comfortable trying to land up there. I don't want this to land in the bunker, though. So with that being said, not wanting to land in the bunker, we're going to try to just point this here. Maybe take off just a tad bit of power. Don't want this landing long on me. We got it up for a nice pitch here. Now this is one of those holes that it'd kind of be nice to have a thorn for. But let's just see what the second wind is, because you never know. You don't have to use full backspin on this. I do think it makes it a little bit easier, but it's not necessarily a requirement. I know we're going to be down close to min club. I don't know how in between we're going to be, especially with the tailwind. So let's just play this like this for now, see how it goes. Little great ball there. Doesn't look like he went enough rings. It looks like it came in just a little bit hot. You should have a fairly nice look at this. It is down towards min, but not quite. Min is telling me 4. If min is 4, we're going to go 5. And you can see what I'm doing with the ball guide as well. I want to make sure this is pointed to the right, to the left, and it's not. So we're going to go a little bit more like this. Right around 5 though. Oh, just a little bit of an overpull there, just slightly. With the tailwind, I probably went just a tad bit more than I should have. You know, maybe 4.5 there. That's in the hole. It wasn't overplayed by much. I definitely had a very nice chance to win that one outright. No reason to miss that one. But you can see it was just slight overpull. It's because of that tailwind. It just, anytime it's straight like that, I always kind of mentally just kind of overpull just to make sure that it doesn't come in and slam the pin. And overcompensation there. This is not one of my favorites, that's for sure. It's not as bad as the other one. This is definitely not one of my favorites. Similar spot to where I set up. He's pretty close to max here, so in this case, I probably should have watched. Very similar to the way that I play this one in this wind. Let's see how this, I expect this to come out pretty well. Maybe just a hair bit short there. Let's see how it rolls down the slope. All things considered, pretty good. 128. So pretty much use max here and some push up. That looks like a little bit better line. Let's see. Nah, just a little bit outside. So you see what the goal is there? I'm not huge on funnel holes. I really just don't like them because I feel like it kind of takes out of the player control a little bit. The goal is to kind of take just a little bit more of that first hill there, a little bit less. So I got just a little bit too much of it. And you can see as a result, it just kind of starts funneling too much to the right. Both of ours did it though. I mean, we were in the same boat, and that's just one of those where it's like, you know, it's a game. It comes down to an inch, like, or how many inches is that? You know, we're pretty much in the same spot, and we both take the funnel. One's closer than the other. It's just kind of the way that it is. If you can get just a little bit less of that first hill to where it pushes it so far to the right, it's better off. At first, mine looked good, and then, you know, it really took a lot of that momentum from that hill, which is kind of what you want to avoid. So you get just a little bit less momentum from that first hill. I think both of us really, we just need to get just a hair more to the right. So this is not the one that we usually... I usually go this way. It's a little bit better angle. For me, it's the way that I've kind of always played it. In this situation, though, I think this is not the greatest wind in the world to go this way. You're going to have to really thread the bunkers here. I know over here to the right, you do still get a nice look. I know, you know, this is kind of a common way. It really is just wind dependent because you can see this isn't the greatest wind to make it up there. But when you can make it up there, it makes for a really simple hole. When you have to go over this way, you kind of took yourself, and that's the reason that I kind of just play it to the left. And there's certain times I just can't play it to the left. Say that was a 13 wind, you know, I'm never getting to where I did. It's impossible. So you got to be cautious. Sometimes you're going to have to go out to the right and do this and just kind of do either some kind of hook slice, full overpower, like something to really get this ball over to the right. But what it does, and here you're seeing it, you know, case in point here, is you're just kind of rolling out way far to the left. You're never going to get back to the hole without a hook slice. So that's the downside to going to the right, unless you absolutely have to, which sometimes that comes up. Because we still got a clean look at this. It's not the best look we could have, but it ain't the worst. So I usually play this pretty straight up to max. It's relatively close. $7.5, and you can see maybe just a little bit on the north end. We don't want this to short land. Similarly, maybe just a touch of OP as well. We don't want this short landing on us. And you can see that's exactly what it did. Plus the wind effect, I just didn't quite get aggressive enough. The line looked okay, maybe just a little bit too much curl. It needed to just touch that fairway, and it didn't. But that is the advantage of having just a little bit extra topspin, is it still rolls down nicely. If you make that mistake and you have backspin already, it's going to just kind of die, and you're going to be on the fringe. And one of the things that I did, I just didn't want it coming in too hot, so I got just a little bit too cautious to avoid the opposite problem, where, you know, it comes in too hot, and I got just a little bit too close. But let's go to the shootout, see what happens. We haven't really got any hole yet that, you know, well, honestly, I really don't like a lot of these shootouts. Anyway, it kind of takes a little bit of the fun away of Tour 12 for me. The fact that, you know, I just don't really like a lot of these holes. This one I kind of do. It's probably one of my more favorite ones. So let's see what the wind is. Gonna get set up here. So with this wind angle, this is a little bit different way of playing it. I feel like you want to utilize this hill and slope. And the way my opponent's doing, he's kind of taking it out of the hole. A lot of these winds need no curl, so they're really easy. But let's just see how this rolls out. Not the greatest. We should easily beat that in pretty much every situation. 7 yards is not a great shot for this one. What I like to do is utilize the slope here more. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to use mid number, which is essentially wind rings. Great ball right. I think we'll be okay. So what the great ball right did for my shot there, it kind of made it hit more hill to the right. So you can see it kind of shoots more to the left. So hitting perfect ball there would have yielded a little bit better shot. Maybe even great left would have been a better shot too. Because the less of that hill that you get, kind of the better that it winds up. This is interesting. This feels like one of the times that nobody's in the pool. I feel like somebody's always in the pool. Not my favorite hole. Not my favorite wind angle either. Really getting over there is not the easiest thing to do. So let's see if this checks up. Just checks up. So pretty well played there. Hook slice at the buzzer. Keep in mind that wind was like, what was it, 13 or something? So I went maybe 7 rings or something. Something to that effect. But I also had like 3 rings to the left. So I had, basically I was just using the wind instead of rings. It's just kind of like a quick eyeball method for that hook slice. It's the best way to get over there. Your alternate is what my opponent's doing here. Well, maybe he still is hook slicing it. I simplified things a little bit. So you can see this is more of a hook slice than me. Let's see how this one plays out. It's more rings than I went, so it's going to wind up definitely more right. But let's just see what it looks like. Ooh, so down into the sand there. It really still got cut the same because it didn't hit as high up on the hill as mine. Oh, wow, that's like a free pass. I'm assuming with that wind, they got up there. I don't know if this is a replay, though. I guess that's an assumption. Let's do something along the lines of this. I'm just going to blast it. A little bit of top spin. A lot of bit of curl. It's not everything we have, but it's a good amount. Just trying to make sure that we get it to the hole. Goes through. No worries there. Back fringe. Wanted to make sure we got it up there. Ooh, Malibu. Wonder if this was I don't know if this is a replay for sure, but if it was, maybe birdie. There's some winds that are hard on this. There's, it's very hard to get an eagle on this one. I can't assume that my opponent's going to miss this shot because I really don't know. And I've never been that specific spot, so I don't even know what that look is going to look like. So keep it inside cup here. This is going to be a really tricky wind. I do know that. I know for 100% that this is going to be a tricky. Maybe they were here. So we seem to have lost this guy. But as you can see, like I mentioned, one of the goals here was play mistake-free. And so far, we've managed to do that. You don't want to jinx yourself, but if you can get the shots done and execute, you put yourself in a position to get to the shootout every time, you can have reasonable success in this tour. It's a brute tour. These could have went either way. Like realistically, I could still have a couple more losses, but I could easily have a couple more wins as well. I've played mistake-free. I haven't really hit a bad shot other than one. It was the Porthello, and I'm talking about the very first Porthello tiebreaker we had. Everything else was reasonably executed. I remember I had a great ball on that one shootout. It pretty much cost me the shootout. all things considered, you know, and if you hang in there, you know, overall, you're gonna get better at this tour. I almost never play this tour. So keep in mind, you know, I play maybe 5 or 10 at the most rounds on this tour a month. Definitely not a week. I had been playing more of 11. It seems like a little bit more fun tour. This is an example of a hole that I don't like to get. And biggest reason why, you know, I don't know what the opponent's going to do. It looks like Kingslayer ball. It's like it's already a better ball than me. Kind of a way to sometimes pick up an easy win when they execute correctly. Let's see how this comes out. This is not the easiest hole, and I'm not always the best at doing what my opponent just did there, which is that bounce shot. I don't really have that shot mastered to the level that some of these guys do. And you can see with the extra ball, you know, it just makes it that much easier. We're going to go here, 9-6 plus 10. Wind rings. Sounds good. Close enough. Didn't want to go into OP. So a little bit short there. We made it to the fairway. Just needed a little bit more OP. I'm always a little bit worried about that second bounce, so I'm being a little cautious. This is a pretty reasonable hole to go like EB school on this. And I don't know 100% what that all entails, but I'm thinking something along the plus 20% for this hole. Then just size up the pin. So let's see if this goes in. Yep. So they're good there. So we got to follow suit. Of course, we're going to have more than enough opportunity. At this range, though, a lot of times you want to be more exact. This is, what, 80-some percent? 85 or something? Kind of a glitchy ball guide. Maybe apply some spin in this case. Doesn't really change my adjustment. 85%, 12.5 rings. And it looks pretty good. So straight into the cup. We make the shootout. So let's see what this one looks like. I have actually yet to play this one. I don't know why, but it just hasn't given it to me. So, assuming we got tailwind here. We go a little bit extra, something like this. Some wind effect here. Just see what this looks like. Imagine that's going to stretch out a little bit. Ah, another great ball. Looks pretty good. Does it curl? Does it? Oh, it comes back off that slope too. This is my first time seeing this hole. Great ball to the right. Shot it out to the right. I don't know how competitive that's going to be. I don't know if the left side has a funnel that brings it back closer to the hole. That might be, you know, a mistake that I can't get away from. Especially with a little bit extra wind reduction. A little bit of OP on this one. Let's see how this plays out. I was assuming it was going to be relatively good. Does it just sit there? And sure enough, it does. Left side of the hole just kind of sits there. Left side seems to be better because I think even taking the back slope there, I get the feeling that it looks like it's going to shoot back to the right just based on the slope. So really needed that perfect ball there. And I think I had that win with perfect ball. I think I would have been closer than that other shot. Mine was up the hill more. It would have backfed to the hole. I definitely think it would have been inside that. So sometimes it's going to come down to your perfect ball timing. Porthello 1. Not the easiest hole. Let's see what the wind is. It's a relatively easy wind here. Relatively. Since the ball just kind of naturally goes down that way on its own. We're going to go about and plus 10 rings. Not really worried about OP with this wind direction. I know this second shot is uphill. I don't know what the wind angle will be. I feel I usually, as a standard, use kind of percentage minus 10. Depending on wind angle, you know, I might kind of just shift that a little bit, go a little bit extra in some cases, a little bit less in other. You know, did we pull down the low ground? Did we pull up the high? That type of thing. We'll be pulling up towards max. use somewhere up there on my rings. Keep the ball guide through the hole because it's going to try to collapse down. So somewhere up towards max is about 7. So if I go just a little bit below max, just came up a little bit short. That's one thing that I forgot about. Is it does like to just land a little bit short here when you pull to the left. You know, it doesn't even have to be down in that sand. It just likes to land just a little bit short. That's kind of exactly what it did. Now, I did underpull my ring and almost should have just kept it right at max. But it still would have came up short. It still was going to land short. I just kind of forgot that. Anytime you pull left here, like even if it stays up out of the sand, it still lands short on you. And that's exactly what happened to me there. So a little bit drop circle OP or something to keep that distance restored. You can see that one's doing the same thing. Overpull as well. But landing very shallow there. There, you get close enough to that sand, you can go in it. You got to be a little bit cautious there. But in almost any wind angle, drop circle, you're okay. We're very close to it anyway. With how much OP you go, I'd watch it a little bit on all right pointed wind, but pretty much anything left pointed or straight pointed, pulling down into the sand, it's pretty much the method to get you back restored to that nice distance each and every time. Yep. Finally getting into a little bit more of my wheelhouse here. This is one of the tougher winds, though. This is the way I like to play it as well. Not the easiest in this tailwind. This is not the easiest play in a tailwind, though. I'm going to kind of judge and just see how well this is executed. It looked like his ring pull was pretty good. I usually go about max plus 10 on this one. That's overall not too bad. Oh my goodness. That's even better than I thought it was going to be. Like I mentioned, I do usually go max plus 10. I have more wind. Great. The other thing you want to make sure is that you have enough room. Seems like I do. Sucks that we ran into this opponent there because that's actually a really well played shot. It's a good opportunity for us to get a game back. I don't usually play guys. Oh, jeez. Just kind of all over today. Mine landed just a little bit long. So just a little bit outside. But a lot of times, you know, a well-executed shot, because I feel a lot of people, they like to go on the short of the bunker one, and they never judge the distance right. So I beat a lot of people on that hole. It sucks that I run into somebody that plays it very well. Because that doesn't happen a lot. So, you know, the more people that you play, the more people that I see not playing that well. And that's why I usually go for that shot over there on the left, because I'm usually good with my curl. I'm usually good with my distance control. I can usually pick up a lot of games on people there. And we just kind of ran into the wrong timing for it. I have no idea what I'm going to do here. I'm thinking about going hook slice. I don't know if it's possible. I've never had this hole and this win paired together. So we're going to both find something out. That was 15 rings. This will be 20. That looks pretty good. Almost 25 rings there, leaving room for the extra curl for the tailwind. If anything, that was just a little bit heavy on my rings, but it looks like it worked out. I was being a little bit cautious. It was a little slightly left-pointed wind. I didn't need to be that cautious. You can see my last couple pulls, I was like, let's just go a couple more. I know it's safe, so let's do it. And I should have just held off. And the other thing that I do, for people watching that hook slice there, keep in mind I've gone 5 pre. I'm using the edge of my bullseye. So in that case, the edge of my right of my bullseye for my initial alignment. And I'm just kind of visualizing an arc from the edge of the right of my bullseye. So I've gone 5 pre without even shooting. It's just a trick that I've always liked to do just to reduce ring counts. So 8-3, wrong club. I'm going to try to stay very close to this min line. Usually makes it a lot more holeable when you do this. So the only thing that, I've never been in this position before, so this is going to be kind of first time looking at it. I'm going to go beyond min. I know that. Absolutely going beyond. I'm thinking at least 10% beyond. That's about 7-8. Still not quite enough. It was into the 8, so I was essentially mid there. But a nice feel for this would be plus 25%. Plus 25% from there. Keeping in mind that's only towards min club. Otherwise, you're going to have more wind effect to take into account. So if you were at mid, if you were at max, 25 is just the base amount. That's if you're right at min club like I was. That's like the standard for how much you at least have to go minimum. This is really interesting. So my opponent here going Marlin in tour 12. That really makes things interesting because you can really get yourself in a nasty way on the shootout. So my opponent's really going to need, but it's also a very easy way. If you have tons of coins, maybe it's a good strategy, especially if you have all day to play, because you are going to throw away a bunch of games, no question. 2 reasons. One is the extra wind effect. 2 is you could get yourself in some really nasty power situations. Let's just think about some of the holes that we played. Even with the same conditions, especially anything that's been in the face. So anything in the face on the shootout really is going to stretch your limits on what you can do with the shot. So let's see if he wins the win lottery. Already not a good hole for him. But let's just see what happens. We don't know what the wind is. Whew. Could have been worse. He can definitely hit this shot, no question. So a little bit bailed out, as you can see. If that would have been more pointed in the face, makes for a much, much tougher shot. This just looks absolutely insane. So let's see how well he plays it. You can see this guy has, done this for a pretty good while. He knows what he's doing, bringing marlins in, getting inside 7 there with a marlin. Now, like I said, he was kind of gifted a win there. But with that in mind, still well executed. So we have a little bit different wind direction than what we had last time. I'm going to play it just a little bit different than we did. Thinking something along the lines of this. 13-7. Did I go 1 ring too less? That doesn't even make sense. I think I great balled it right. I still shouldn't have been there. I'm not sure what happened there. And I wasn't checking, I might have did 16-1 instead of 17-1. But I think without that great ball, I at least hit the fairway and we just see what happens. Man, that's a brutal one to lose because they gifted that guy a win. I mean, he got pretty much one of the easiest looks. Like, he doesn't have to worry about distance control at all because it's just a straight crosswind. So you already know your weight's going to be good. But it didn't put him in a sicky situation. Straight tailwind, straight headwind, you have to really scramble a little bit more. That was kind of a real nice gift for a marlin. It sucks to lose to a marlin too. And I feel like realistically, they could have gave me any other hole and I would have had the upper hand. It doesn't matter what the hole is. So I lost the lottery twice. I play somebody that comes up, well, except for a funnel hole. He could have played, there's 2 funnel holes on this? Or at least 1, except for the Greenwich Point funnel hole. That was probably the best case scenario if you execute, to just kind of be gifted one. Because I would have been able to get close on pretty much any other hole in this situation, reasonably close. Well within 5 yards on pretty much all these holes. This is very similar to what I just feel like we just played a little bit. I'll play it a little bit different, a little bit more aggressive on the curl, try to make sure that it gets over the sand a little bit harder than it did last time. Hoping to create some extra momentum. And as you can see, as a result, we're able to get it much more down here into the fairway. This is kind of what I want to do. Question is, how possible is it? And is there some downhill nature to it? Which I kind of feel like there is. At least wind rings. Plus some overpower because of the fact that you're pulling down the hill. So that's like 10-4 drop circle, and we hit great ball anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's probably going to be pretty good. It might have still been a little bit light by the looks of things. We know it was going to take the slope differently, at least, at a minimum. I do think this was a considerable downhill, not just because I was only doing like this. And I think it was more like this, like 12 rings straight up or something. It's hard judging those short iron shots. The biggest reason, they don't usually take a lot of wind effect. So you don't have to usually worry about that. And that's one of the things that I really figured out, from coming back in master tournaments. The adjustment between what these guys are doing with Wind 5 is almost on a lot of like rough bumps and stuff like that. They're very close on Kingmaker. And it's not like that with really any other club. It's kind of specific to that one club. So let's see if we're good on this one. Most times I am. Usually play about 5 rings from these bunkers. Let's go with the 13-8 wind here. Not the easiest of winds we could have got. And you got to watch your backspin. You got to watch your side spin because this is going to cut harder than you think. You got to be a little bit careful. You see, it really cuts very nicely. And that was a very nice shot there. We get inside a yard. Right around 3 backspin. It cuts very nice for something that has that wind direction. So one of the common mistakes that I see a lot of people do is they'll say, oh, it's right pointed. There's going to be natural wind effect. When you put left spin into a right pointed wind like this, headwind, what happens is it just bounces and cuts harder to the left. So that's why we use no curl there. That's also why the ball guides to the left or right of the hole, and then the ball still winds up to the left. So it's just like one of those things about the physics that and you can see that's what my opponent's doing here. He's visually looking at it and say, oh, I'm not cutting it hard enough, so he's cutting it extra. Now, the one thing, about his shot is he couldn't side spin it as much, but you can see he didn't need it. And I showed him he didn't need the curl. He just didn't realize, I don't need that curl. If he would have played it with no curl, he would have been right there. I mean, right there. Essentially, the difference between our shots was really just curl. So we've actually got a pretty good mix. I'm actually pretty happy with this set. I'm going to do like 2 more for you guys. Hopefully we can get on a little win streak. I feel like I've kind of broke even on this. And I kind of also feel that I've kind of got like the rough end of the straw a little bit. I don't think I've necessarily been playing bad. I've got a couple hard opponents, which is to be expected. But I think statistically I've played harder players than which is standard. If you go throughout the whole day, yes, you're going to play some hard players, but you're also there's going to be some mistakes thrown in there. There's going to be some people that just don't play a whole right. And I feel like, you know, in this set, I really haven't had much of that at all, if at all. I feel like everything's, for the most part, been executed pretty well. This is frustrating because, you know, the obvious choices here, well, pull Luminary and do what your opponent did. Otherwise, you have to worry about this not making it to this fairway. I mean, it's going to be borderline a yard or two away from this. I feel like we're just going to risk it. I don't really mind if I forfeit a win. I don't think this is going to make it to the fairway. But let's hope I'm wrong. Phew, just made it. But as you can see, you know, I'm kind of fully prepared to take a chance with a Kingmaker and just throw away 30 million coins. I really don't care. I knew that was close. I didn't want it to be close, but at the same time, it's tour. Like, I'm not using a ball that I need. And, you know, it's cool if you don't need them and you have unlimited balls or whatever, but you know, I just don't care about a tour game. It means absolutely zero to me. I could tank, you know, 100 in a row. It doesn't change, you know, my goal. So more than willing and happy to get, and in this whole stream, that's the one thing I didn't do. I haven't lost a hole outright yet. So it's nice to not make mistakes and be able to play clean and, you know, get at least enough momentum to always be in the shootout. And that's one of the biggest takeaways that I have for you guys on this stream. Never overexert yourself. Do enough to make sure that you get through and don't try to do too much and play yourself out. We're going to go 9-3 with some curl, more than likely. Something along the lines of this. I don't think it's going to short land on me. 9-3 plus a tad bit of curl. Might not even need that much curl. So just a fraction. You can see the ball guide was just pointed to the left, so I wanted something, but as you can see, it's just a little bit too much. Also, keep in mind on that ring pull, I did keep it slightly north of perfect, and the reason was just to restore some of that direction without needing to OP. But either method would be fine. It would both work. You just have to adopt that style and kind of stick to it. And the more practice you get, the better feel that you get with it as well. Let's see what the wind is. Up, a little bit different wind this time. I think we're going to have to play this more aggressively than we did last time. Yeah, that's what my opponent's doing. I think I went like max +5 last time. I'm thinking more max 10, 15. Because we're going to be pulling up towards max. And it looks like my opponent just gets to the max line there. So I'm going to be real close to staying in range. So that's nice. Up, he just went into 20. He just went into 20. That's not good. I'm going to need OP on this shot. So, advantage opponent. Oh, wow. Talk about taking it close there. Whew. I mean, he landed right on that sucker. We're going to do a very similar setup to what my opponent did. Some offset here. I feel like this might be a little bit heavy on the backspin if I'm not careful. I think that's what my opponent did there. Let's kind of take off some backspin. I didn't prep my club. We're going to go 13 rings straight up. I think the great ball cost me again. Man. Might have just been a little over aggressive with my ring pull as well. But I know great ball left was not a good thing there. Plus, not to mention, that's only the second time I've played it. So I'm really just kind of going off a feel and eyeball and making sure. And, you know, I kind of used my opponent's shot there where he was aimed. And I feel like I probably shouldn't have. Because I feel like we were setting up two different shots. All right, this is going to be the last one. Unfortunately, I didn't get a win streak going. Would have been nice if we could have. Actually, there's one exception. If I do make a mistake here, which I'm hoping not to, if I do make a mistake here, I'm not going to end on a mistake hole. Let's hope I don't make a mistake. Assume that I play this well. Pretty much wind rings, a little bit of curl. Making sure to keep your ball guide short enough. Definitely one of the easiest mistakes to make here is to let that run out too far because you have missing ball guide. You don't realize it's going to stretch out on a tailwind. So I just do it off a feel there. Playing experience more than anything. We should be good. Opponent taking a completely different approach so far. Looks like they're going to try to beat this over the water. So this can go either way. Let's see how well they are at execution. And it's also going to come down to their second wind. Oh, free pass. So they got a free pass to the hole. Little freebie. I feel like, you know, I'm just in one of those stretches where the game doesn't want to give me anything, not even an inch. I feel like on that last shootout, I probably would have won if I went first because I feel like I let his shot, since I don't know enough about that hole, I just kind of used it to my disadvantage. And then if I would have played on my instinct and not switched anything, we would have been good. So free pass to the hole. Let's see if he can capitalize. Looks good so far. I mean, I feel the biggest mistake somebody usually would make is they'd probably try to do something a little too aggressive with their topspin. He's going to do the opposite, which is essentially just play this safe. Landed up there with backspin. No risk of having this go out of bounds or anything, you know. This shouldn't wind up in the rough when you do stuff like this. So one last shootout, and we're going to wrap things up for you guys. Thanks for checking things out if you guys did come in. Sorry we didn't quite have the results we were looking for. But at the same time, that's kind of the way the things go. There's two shootouts at Century Harbor that, you know, this new one today, we didn't get the other one. And that's another one that, you know, I consider to just kind of be the toughest one in the set. Even harder than the Porthello one that I've messed up twice now. I hadn't been getting it. So that's one of my reasons for my mistakes, is I'm just not quite versed enough, and pulling to the higher ground just didn't quite work out the way that we wanted it to. But we did get a great mix. I mean, I must have got almost everything. The only thing I didn't get is the Greenwich funnel, and that one that I'm talking, the last one from Century Harbor. Pretty much everything else. So it was a very good mix. And here it is, speaking of it. So maybe this is a good stopping point. This is one of the hardest wins. But the magnitude is down. So with the magnitude being down, it's going to kind of save me a little bit. And the same type of thing here with this backspin. You know, this is really going to cut. You know, we talked about this. It's going to cut harder to the right. Because of this wind angle, so you don't want to necessarily play wind effect here. Man, I must have still underpulled just by slight. I must have just been just a little bit slight underpull, and it landed left, because I shouldn't be this far on this. But like I said, this is one of the toughest. So this is a very tough shootout. Not the greatest wind, as you can see. It's going to make it a little challenging on my opponent as well. So let's just see how they execute, because it's not going to be the easiest shot here. And I think if anything, it's just my ring pull or something. You can see it just kind of landed a little bit more to the left than it should have. And I'm not sure why that happened. So I think I just kind of underpulled a little bit. And this already looks better, so I'm pretty sure he won. So another freebie that we just kind of gave away. Let's see, because he did overcompensate the other way. It's close. Stupid. Sometimes I feel that the game is just like predestined to do crap like that. Like there's nothing I can prove otherwise, but it's like I feel like there's no way his shot was as right as it should have been, and there's no way that mine should have been as left as it was. And they basically just create this close 0.25 difference, you know, and just kind of award somebody. because in my opinion, you know, the shot that he adjusted shouldn't have been that far right. The shot I adjusted shouldn't have been that far left. So it's like, what gives? But it seems like, you know, that they just kind of said, yep, we'll make this one there, this one there. It doesn't happen a lot like that, but I'm telling you, there's just certain holes, certain bounces that just seems to be, or funnel holes, stuff like that. It's like, how much does the player actually control in this shot? It's really tough to know. But not the greatest stretch there. You know, I definitely feel like I got kind of the worst end of the stretch. Not to mention, on that shot there, that last shootout, we get the hardest win that they could throw at you. It's straight in the face. If that would have been 10 plus, we would have needed to go almost max OP. It turns in almost an impossible shot. And that's one of those directly. It's like, you know, can you imagine that Marlin guy, the guy going with the Marlin? We get that hole, that wind, it's like, good luck. Like, you're done. Pretty much just forfeit. So that's one of the disadvantages there. But thanks for tuning in, guys. Unfortunately, you know, we didn't quite get the result. But my methods, I definitely think the methods that we used were solid. It's just not necessarily the right set of opponents. And also not quite, I wasn't quite as sharp today. You could see some great balls definitely cost me. You know, but all things considered, thanks for tuning in, and catch you guys next time. Take care.